So let's start off with another quote, okay? And the quote says, when you assume, you make an ASS out of you and me. Many of you have probably heard that quote before. And the reality is that making assumptions can create a lot of misunderstandings, lead to miscommunication, and all kinds of issues. And unfortunately, I see a lot of women making assumptions while in the dating process. And I see how it backfires on them in so many different ways. Okay. And again, that leads to disappointment, heartache, wasted time, entertaining men who don't belong in your life or no longer belong in your life, whatever the case may be. And of course, the goal for me is to help you avoid that. I don't want you making these assumptions and finding yourselves in these difficult situations. So I want to lay out some things that you should never assume with a man. All right. And listen, you should try not to assume things with people in general, but we're going to focus on men. We're going to focus on dating. And let's get to one of the biggest ones, if not maybe the biggest assumption you should never make with a man, and that is that he is officially your man. Okay? Now, listen, so many women meet a man, they start dating, and let's just paint the picture in this scenario where the man is behaving very boyfriend like, maybe even husband like. Like he's doing for her, he's providing for her, he's calling, everything is on point. Okay? And because of this one, the fact that you're enjoying yourself and this seems to be going so well, many times a woman doesn't want to just flat out ask, what are we? You know, what's really going on here? And instead, she may go ask a friend or whoever, like, what do you think about this? He's doing this. And they might make her feel like, oh, yeah, you're good, right? And so for her, it just feels safer to just assume, okay, we are together because clearly the way he treats me means we must be together. Only for months to pass, sometimes longer. And somehow the conversation finally comes up, and the man's like, I never told you I was your man. What are you talking about? Like, we were just enjoying each other. We were just going with the flow. You know, I'm not a fan of the going with the flow thing. You know, we were just dating. That's all. I didn't think, nothing of it. And of course, that leads to complete frustration and all kinds of issues. So, listen, there's a chapter in one of my books, He's Lying Sis, that says he acts like your boyfriend but doesn't want a girlfriend. All right. Or he doesn't want a girlfriend but acts like a boyfriend. Either way, this is actually more common than maybe some women realize. And a man can behave with you in this very loving, caring way, but that doesn't automatically mean he wants to be fully committed to you and obligated to you, because that's what really getting into an official relationship does. It's not about how we treat each other, because as I just explained, a man can treat you well outside of the official relationship dynamic, right? Outside of the marriage dynamic. But by not fully saying he's your man, by not committing, he's not fully obligated to you. And he is not committed to the point that he cannot entertain other options. Okay. So, this is why you should not just jump to the assumption that because everything's great, we're together. No, you've got to be willing to discuss that. You have to be willing to ask, so where are we going with this? What are we? Even flat out ask, are we official right now? And the thing is this, if you're scared that by asking this question, it will run him away, then that's there's something wrong there, because if it does run him away, then that just means he wasn't serious about you. And I think what happened, this is hit my spirit, so let me just speak on it. Because we got to be real with each other for a second. Even though a woman may desire a relationship, desire marriage, when someone is treating her so well, it's hard to want to walk away from that. It's hard to accept letting that go, even though the man is unwilling to give full commitment. Now, some of you might say it ain't hard for you, and you might have no problem cutting that man off. But for a lot of women, especially for the woman who maybe has had nothing but poor treatment from men, right? Has never experienced this, this is difficult. And so that fear of now having to let go of this wonderful experience paralyzes a woman and stops her from investigating or discussing things further because, again, she doesn't want to rock the boat. So I get it. I understand. All I can do is pray that you're going to embrace, not find the strength, embrace the strength you have within you to do what is best. Because in the long run, though it might feel good right now, if it's not going to ultimately lead to where you belong, then you don't need to remain there. So, bottom line is, yes, do not assume he is your man. Don't just run with that. Have a conversation and make sure you two are on the same page. All right. So, another big assumption you should never make with a man is that he knows better. So, let me start with this example, right? And I think it might be less common now, but at one time it was very common, very prevalent. To where a woman meets a man, they start getting to know each other, but the communication is always through text, right? And I've had so many women come to me expressing their frustration that all this man does is text, and then in some situations end up cutting him off. And the mentality from the woman is, he should know better. Why should I have to tell him that he needs to stop texting me or he needs to call me rather than just always texting me, right? And I understand how a woman feels and why she views it that way. But as I've told those women in those situations, I'm going to tell you, common sense isn't always so common. That man doesn't always know better. And in this example of texting, you have to remember that the people that you come across and that you date have very likely had other experiences. And we don't know how much those experiences are shaping and impacting their perspective and how they show up in the dating and relationship process. So if that man has dealt with women who prefer texting, because there are women right now who will tell you, no, I love the texting. I prefer that. That's what they want. They don't need all the phone conversation, right? If that's all he's been exposed to and he's been led to believe, he may even fall into the trap of thinking this is what most women prefer. When he comes to you, he's not going to know better to not just text you, okay? And by simply expressing yourself, expressing your concern, say, hey, listen, I appreciate the communication, but I'm more of a phone woman, okay? And I feel like we need to talk more, or in person type of lady, right? And then, okay, cool. Now he hears this, and if he's serious, he'll adjust. If he's not, he will continue on with the same behavior. And if he continues on with the same behavior, okay, then by all means, walk away from the situation. But you got to be willing to talk. And again, I gave you this very simple example of texting, but this happens in so many different ways where people are just always quick to assume he should know better. He's a grown man. Another hit in my spirit moment. Listen, unfortunately, grown don't mean a damn thing. I'm sorry. And when I say grown, age doesn't mean much sometimes, in the sense that you got to realize age simply increases the chances that someone will have gained enough wisdom or understanding in life and how to handle things, right? But it does not guarantee it. Age does not guarantee maturity. Age does not guarantee wisdom. It guarantees nothing, all right? Because you could have a man who grew up very sheltered, wasn't out there dating. Maybe he was shy, whatever the case may be. So he hasn't had much exposure. So despite whatever his age is, he can still be far behind. He can be far behind someone, I don't know, 10 years younger than him, right? Like, you just never know with people, and people come from so many different backgrounds. So even that, it could be a cultural thing, right? If you meet a man who just came from a different country, how they do things over there may be very different than how we do things over here, how people commonly do things over here. There's so many different factors that can cause misunderstandings, disconnects, or a lack of understanding and wisdom about how to properly handle certain things. Okay. I even just give you one other example real quick. It was a married couple I was coaching, and uh, the husband was very rough with the way he spoke to his wife, right? And I had spoken to him like, listen, you need to exhibit more compassion. And he said to me, what's compassion? What do you mean compassion? Now that might sound foolish. Like, how does a man not understand what compassion is? Listen, you'd be surprised. He did not really understand how he's supposed to display that, how he's supposed to convey that, right? To him, even though I might talk rough, it's like tough love. It's like, I do love her. I do care about her. It's not like I don't give a damn about how she feels. Yeah, but the way you come across doesn't allow her to feel that or receive that, right? And we had to work on him being more, how to be more compassionate in the way that he addressed things with her. So again, so that's a man who was married and he was grown, okay? It's just never guaranteed. So bottom line is, do not assume he knows better. Always be willing to talk about things. And then if it cannot be corrected and resolved, then move forward in a new direction. All right, so next assumption you should never make with a man is that you should never assume what his needs and desires are. Okay, so there's a joke I like to give where let's say a woman and a man, they've been together, married, long term, whatever, they've been together for a while, and let's say his birthday's coming up, right? And she asks the man, "What do you want for your birthday?" And he's like, "Baby, I don't need much. Let's just sit down, watch a movie. Let's have this favorite meal he loves, and I'm good. Like, I don't need nothing else." And the woman hears that, goes back in her corner, and she thinks to herself, "I'm gonna throw him a surprise party. I'm gonna buy him this." Like, it's like he just told you what he wanted, and you still go and assume that maybe you know better, or that somehow, no, that's not extravagant enough, or that's not sexy enough, or whatever the case may be, right? He deserves more than that. And it's like, no. And then to make matters worse, what happens is, so let's say in this scenario, she throws him the surprise party, right? And then when he sees the surprise party, he has this very dry reaction. And throughout the party, he's kind of disconnected, right? So afterwards, she's like, "What happened? What's wrong?" And he's like, "Man, I really just want to be by ourselves." And she feels like, "Dang, you don't appreciate my efforts. I did all this for you." And now she's upset at him, but he told her from the beginning he just wanted movies and some food. Probably some sex too, but we're gonna leave that part out right now. But either way, like, it was that simple for him. And so you gotta make sure in relationships, in dating, you don't assume what this man needs. Also, because this is it's very easy to happen to a lot of women, where even though there are some general basic understandings about men, right? Same way there's some general basic understandings about women, you can never let that cause you to forget that every person is their own individual. And you have to learn that individual. It's okay to come in with foundational principles, but you must be flexible with those things and understand it may not apply to that man. So again, flipping it for a second, if I'm speaking to men, there are some men who have been told by women in their family that women in general love flowers, right? And so he may come into every situation thinking flowers is always going to be a welcomed gesture that women love. But there are some of you out there who don't give a damn about no flowers. Like, you don't care for flowers. Yeah, they're nice and everything, but they don't do for you. Shoot, you might be allergic to some. Like, it simply does not apply to you. And if he comes in with that and an unwillingness to be flexible, and I think this is very important to understand, when we do things for somebody, so even if you are going to make an assumption, because sometimes people go their own route with what they want to do or how they want to pour into their partner, And sometimes they actually get something right. Like it actually works out beautifully, right? So that's great. But then in the instances that it doesn't, do not take offense. Do not be insulted. Rather, view it as, okay, now I know this doesn't work for them. Take it as an opportunity to learn. So every action that we're doing for somebody, every conversation that we're having with them, this is an opportunity to get to know them better in a way that allows us to fine tune pouring into their needs and desires. All right. But if you notice with everything here, it's always going to be about communication. If you're willing to talk, everything can be worked out. But again, I have to stress, do not take personal offense when your attempts don't land. All right. Just learn from it, make the adjustments, move forward. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So there's this great quote that says, lust can feel like love until it's time to make a sacrifice. And I wanted to lead with that quote because even though we're not going to really dive into the whole lust thing in this video,